Tanya Degurechaff is absolutely insane. There are many overpowered Isekai protagonists, to the point where they're pretty much their own genre at this point. But Tanya is truly in a league of her own. Because she's more powerful? Nope. Because she's got more interesting abilities? No, not that either. Because she's completely unhinged. Tanya was a businessman in her previous life, firing people without hesitation if they didn't do their job properly at the company. Like, for example, this man got completely destroyed with facts and logic. We can assume he was doing this sort of work for a long time, but it eventually bites him in the ass. The man he just fired acted completely emotionally, the opposite of Tanya, pushing him in front of the train. And before we continue, we do have to note that this man is also insane, who loses their job and then goes, you know what? I'm just gonna murder this guy in cold blood, despite it being my fault for not showing up to work and missing deadlines. Like, bro, you're worse than he is and you suck at your job. So he gets hit by a train and is reincarnated, right? Well, not exactly. Before he dies, and by the way, I'm saying he for in his previous life when he was a businessman, but when he's actually reincarnated, I'm going to say she because then he's Tanya.
Just need a bit of peace and quiet from your incessant yapping.
Anyway, Tanya sees God, who freezes time around him to ask about why humans have no sense of right and wrong. But Tanya doesn't exactly react how you'd expect. He just says he rejects the existence of God. Yep, even after seeing this, bro didn't give a shit. He has such little faith that he calls them Being X, aka the devil, which infuriates the so-called God. To make things even worse for himself, he says how science and human advancements make God useless anyway, which makes Being X think, okay, so if you're reincarnated in a world purged by war and you don't have the privilege of living comfortably, your faith would awaken? Bro, you did this to yourself. So he's reincarnated as Tanya Degurechaff. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that somewhat correctly, but probably not. Feel free to roast me. A little girl in an orphanage, in a world filled with magic, but also war. By the way, before we continue, I will say that we're getting very close to 9,000 subscribers, so it'd be awesome if we could hit 10k before the end of the year. So feel free to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Anyway, when tested, Tanya scored at the very top of the magical aptitude test, being ranked A. So to actually start living a life, Tanya joins the military as a little child. Like, look at her. She joined to become a trainer, so she could live in the safeties of the back lines. But Tanya shows that she truly enjoys speaking down to people when she's got a higher role. When she's rightfully mocked for her voice, well, this is her reaction.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
She straight up nearly kills this guy. If she wasn't stopped, like, this guy would be dead. Come on, chill. But whilst training, she's all of a sudden put in some serious danger, coming into contact with enemy forces and left alone for at least 5 minutes before reinforcements arrive. Tanya tweaks the out at first until she realizes that she can actually use this battle to become a hero and live safely after, like she planned. So now it's Tanya versus 6 enemy mages. And when you see this, you know they're She just blew that guy's arms off. I can't even show it, it's that brutal. Then when she runs out of ammo, she creeps up behind one of them and blows herself up. Obviously no one expected this. She's like 9 years old, so she's already underestimated by her opponents. Then when she shows her brutality, it throws them off even more. Tanya does say that making it look like you fought hard and exiting the battlefield injured is the best way for her to survive. But come on, you did fight hard, even if you didn't die. But anyway, this backfires on Tanya as she's made into much more of a hero than she originally planned, being given the Silver Wings Assault Badge, making her think that she's going to be sent to the front lines, which fortunately for her doesn't happen. Or so you'd think. She's actually sent somewhere worse. In this world, the main power source for magic other than your own innate abilities are computation duels. This is what lets mages interfere with reality through magic according to their own will. Anyway, you guys don't care about that. The main point here is that Tanya is sent to test out a new duel in development, which is on a much higher level than any of the others. But all of the experiments risk her life more than the front lines ever could. Like, she's being exploded every day, so she actually volunteers to leave and fight. Then after further pissing off Being X, he blesses the duel so it finally works on Tanya's last test. Why? Well, he did add a condition. Tanya has to pray to him to unlock her powers and actually survive on the front lines. This is his way of proving her faith, but we'll see that this will never work. Being X truly doesn't understand how humans work, and Tanya is barely even human at this point anyway. She's a complete beast on the front lines, to the point where she's known as the perfect soldier. But it is noted that her personality is very odd. Like, You do remember this, right? Not just that, but if we look at episode 1, Tanya's very willing to sacrifice people under her if they piss her off or undermine their authority. Like, for example, these two guys go out of position to take care of an enemy, and they succeed, but the result doesn't matter. She just wants obedience, so she's pissed. Tanya almost murders them the second they speak back to her about her decision to send them home, but she decides against it, and it seems like she's changed for the better, guys. Maybe because of Victoria by her side, her number 2, she's actually became somewhat of a good person, as she actually decides to send them to a random pillbox in the rear, which you'd think is safe, right? Nope. It's blown to bits, killing them both, and when Victoria, who was also their friend by the way, tells Tanya about what happened, it turns out she knew this would happen. They were the perfect target. This is when Victoria realizes that this little girl is the devil incarnate. To prove even more what a monster Tanya is, we see her annihilating enemy forces with ease, partially due to her new duel. She cuts this guy's head off with a smile to start, normal, then blows up a few more enemy mages like they're nothing, then flies to a height that should be impossible, and then Tanya activates her ultimate attack, a sniper bullet imbued with so much mana that it causes a nuclear type explosion. It even blows back her allies who are far away with barrier magic activated. To make things even more brutal, this explosion uses magic to mix with the surrounding atmosphere, which causes carbon monoxide poisoning and oxygen prevention, meaning that it's literally impossible to escape this. This is literally emulating the radiation of a nuclear bomb. She's so busted that she needs nobody's help if needed. But you're probably wondering, how did this sociopathic monster become a commander? Well, we have to go back to when she joined the academy. Tanya was known as Legend because of her new badge, with people saluting this child. She's living her best life until this general comes up to her because of being X. Tanya shows her intelligence in battle and her ability to think ahead, saying that the current war will become worldwide. This intelligence causes her to recommend mages as a new main power. The issue is that there isn't many of them, but they excel in firepower and agility, making them perfect for hunting enemy forces. So her and the general have an idea of a battalion, a group of powerful mages specifically chosen as some sort of death squad. Tanya thinks this is going well because she's realistically showing intelligence equal or surpassing the general. But remember that she's also known as a legendary mage, so all of this comes back to bite her in the ass as usual, as she's the one who's chosen to lead this battalion. Then her old friend, or should I even call her that? Anyway, Victoria is called to help her with all the submissions, and Tanya tries to delay things as much as possible. But to be fair, the mages they interview are useless. So instead, Tanya requests permission to train these lesser mages into something a lot more competent in a mere month. This is an insane claim since it usually takes 2 years to train a soldier, but given this reaction, Tanya's plans to train them are not kind. She low-key needs to stop making these faces, it's creeping me out. Okay, I'm joking, I love it. The first test she gives them is to dodge incoming magical training shells, which actually turns out to have live rounds in them too, making them close to undodgeable. So you're probably wondering, how long did they have to survive this barrage? 1 hour? Maybe 2 at a push? Nope, 36 hours. Tanya was almost killing them for 36 hours. Not only is this just cruel on all levels, but also shows the level of magic she has. Like, Tanya has close to infinite mana reserves, and this is without the blessing from being X in use. So eventually they did pass, so on to the next test, which is now 48 hours. They have to simply make it to the next designated area, but without any magic, or, you know, she'll just kill them. Sounds easy enough, right? Nothing seems to happen until a straight up avalanche drowns them and one of them almost dies. But then Tanya is just straight up like, nah bitch, you aren't done, and kicks the snow out of his lungs so he can continue. But again, all of this backfires on her, and if you haven't noticed, that's pretty much the theme of this entire story. Tanya's plan was to be so ruthless and brutal that they dropped out. But instead, the soldiers are so terrified of her that they believe that if they even tried to drop out, that she'd make them suffer a fate worse than death itself, and would rather be on the front lines risking their life than angering Tanya. To be fair, if I saw this, I'd make the same decision. So they all manage to pass, contrary to what Tanya ever wanted. She tries to delay stuff more, but she's trained this battalion way too well. They're already a level above most mages, so they're sent on their first mission, which wasn't even a challenge. The enemies were so dumb that they didn't even have any aerial support, so Tanya tells their team that this is just target practice at this point, as they massacre the enemy forces like they're nothing. thing. This seemed like more of a joke than anything else, but Tanya and her team did just wipe out 50,000 people without batting an eye, which is crazy. Then Tanya's next plan is to destroy their arms factory, but given war rules, they have to warn them of their attack. So Tanya does some big brain move where she, well...
先生、私たちは国際法にのっとり、正々堂々、戦争することを誓います。
Yep. She puts on her best lolly voice, which causes them to think that this is a mere prank, creating a loophole where she can do this. On their next mission, they're put in a significant amount more danger. Well, not Tanya, but her crew. Because once the enemy forces send out fighter planes, Tanya flies up to over 10,000 feet in the air and... yeah, you're cooked when you see this. She annihilates all of them solo, which should have been impossible. I mean, look how many there are. Then we get this shit. Being X explains that the war will continue no matter what, since he wants to prove Tanya's faith. The thing is, Tanya can never win. She'll never be out of danger. But Being X will never win either, as Tanya will never admit any sort of faith. So they'll be stuck in the stalemate that engulfs the world for decades. We are then introduced to An Sun-soo, whose daughter will play a pivotal role in the story later on. She gives him a weapon to use, which he immediately does as Anya and her battalion attacks. They begin destroying their bases one by one until An Sun-soo sees Tanya and legit gets PTSD flashbacks of what she did to his old team. He tries to attack her, but she is the main character, so bro didn't even stand a chance, as Tanya took the gun his daughter gave him and gifted it to herself as a Christmas present. What the f***? Their next mission is where they are ordered to take care of the enemy forces within a city, where a lot of the people there aren't even majors, just ordinary people. This would mean that civilians would undoubtedly get involved. So when they don't surrender, Tanya starts wiping out the entire town. We're talking about innocent people just trying to protect their homes, but she didn't care in the slightest. And when the enemy decides to retreat and save the remaining innocent, she doesn't let them go after she realizes that one of them could become the next main character with a thirst for revenge. So she forces a man under her to do the killing, so he isn't killed for insubordination, and she never bats an eye. Tanya is truly a sociopath. If things don't negatively affect her, she couldn't care less. Their next attack is on the Rhine Theatre. This is the biggest moment in the war so far. It was the moment that Tanya could finish everything. But one man specifically poses a problem, that man being An Sun-soo. Yep, he's somehow still alive thanks to Being X, and was granted some of his power just like Tanya. He comes out of nowhere to stop her, using an illegal trench gun in the process to make sure he kills this devil. Tanya was at a severe disadvantage, being cornered by countless mages, and this man blessed with the power of God with an illegal weapon surpassing her own. But Tanya succeeds in stabbing him in the heart, because for whatever reason she's kind of busted in hand-to-hand combat. An Sun-soo tries to pull the same shit Tanya did in their first battle, but this time he actually is willing to sacrifice himself to kill her. If not for Victoria, Tanya actually would have died here. But even after killing the guy and him pulling a suicide move in the last second, Tanya manages to just survive. So the war should be over, right? I mean, they destroyed the enemy headquarters and forced them all to retreat, but the people at the top get conceited, believing they've won and not taking into account human emotion overpowering logic, like Tanya learned in her previous life. So with that, combined with some shenanigans, the war continues. Tanya may be brutal, but she's almost always correct. Her intelligence is genuinely terrifying. She knows the intricacies of human acts and has lived enough to know what will happen next. But her idea of ending the war is making sure that not one flame of hatred can survive. This would mean purging every single survivor, but since they don't do this, the cycle of hatred continues, as An Sun-soo's daughter signs up to the military. She does this purely for revenge, and Being X gives her far more power than even Tanya. We find out it's actually 10 times more in the movie. So when Tanya is doing her thing as usual, she eventually attacks the capital that Mary Sue is currently in. They legit start singing their national anthem and filming an endorsement for their army. Like, bro, I'd be pissed too. So Mary forgoes all logic and attacks Tanya, but Tanya was just way too good in actual combat, so she wins easily, despite being shocked for a second by the familiar glow Mary shows, leaving her on death's door. Mary does see though that Tanya has her father's gun, so her revenge is now in full force. I'm not going to go over the entire movie, but the important point is that Mary eventually finds Tanya again, and she's completely unhinged this time, wanting to kill Tanya and her forces no matter what, straight up nuking them all over the place at times. Now, Mary has a lot more magic than Tanya, but is put on the back foot. Why? Well, because Tanya begins to think with zero emotion, with only logic as she's always done. Tanya seems to have killed her, but then Mary gets up like a zombie and defeats Tanya instead because of the power of not only revenge, but being eggs. But once she gets Tanya on the ground beaten, she makes a fatal mistake and stops. So Tanya, with the last bit of willpower she has left, gets up and doesn't even entertain a fistfight, shooting the mana crystal in her chest and ending the battle. The reason Tanya won here was because she's willing to do whatever it takes to be the perfect soldier, not becoming a beast to her emotions like Mary. So that's all I've got for this video. If you guys enjoyed, then like I said, make sure to subscribe since I'm trying to hit 10,000 before the end of the year, and that means I can actually start doing more videos for you guys. So yeah, if you guys want to see more videos as well, make sure to click this video on screen.